Okay, so the next one that I wanted to talk about, because like I said, we were going to cover this at least to most likely to happen. The next one I want to talk about is Greenland. So let's get into that. This is the U.S. acquisition of Greenland. Okay, so this is also not a new idea. Okay, this is something people have been discussing for a while. When you talk about the North American continent, Greenland is usually pictured in that because it's fucking right there, and in terms of like geopolitical position, it's awesome for defense. There's shitloads of resources there. It's not super hospitable given how fucking cold it is, but with all the resources in terms of like rare earth minerals and gold and stuff like that, it's well worth it, and I'm fairly certain there's a lot of oil reserves there as well. So let's just go ahead and cover it. I know that Trump has already discussed wanting to annex Greenland and wanting to maybe buy it from Denmark and shit like that. So let's discuss this. So since the 19th century, the United States has considered and made several attempts to purchase the island of Greenland from Denmark, as it did with the Danish West Indies in 1917. There were notable interest discussions with the U.S. federal government about acquiring Greenland in 1867, 1910, 1946, 1955, 2019, which Trump was in charge for, and now again in 2025. And acquisition has been advocated by American Secretaries of State William H. Seward, James F. Byrnes, whatever, privately by Vice President Nelson Rockefeller, and publicly by President Donald Trump. Like I said, Trump has been trying to get Greenland, and honestly, I think that we should already own it. Like, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't. After World War II, the United States secretly offered to buy Greenland. There was a public discussion about purchasing the island during Trump's first term in 2019, and again after Trump's 2024 re-election. As part of the American expansionism policy, fuck yeah, like I'm talking about, all the world is a risk stage and America needs to win. All right? In 2025, Trump stated that he could not rule out the U.S. annexation of the island. I know, that's because America needs to own it, and there's no reason for Denmark to own it. While Greenland is an autonomous territory, which means it basically governs itself, within the Kingdom of Denmark, so Greenland governs itself, but it's within the Kingdom of Denmark. Okay, I'm not sure why it's within the Kingdom of Denmark, but it is. Greenlandic and Danish authorities have publicly asserted Greenland's right of self-determination and stated that Greenland is, quote, not for sale. Many Greenlanders support independence, meaning they don't want to be part of Denmark anymore, which is fine. You don't have to want to be part of America. You can, just not be part of Denmark anymore, which is fine. And many Danes see the historical ties with Greenland as an integral part of Danish national identity. Sure, but that's only because that's all they've ever known, and they don't want to change anything, despite the fact that their lives would get infinitely better the moment they become part of the United States. They're only a part of... Look, I'm fairly certain that they're a part of Greenland just kind of like as a charity case. The United States has long viewed Greenland as vital for national security. It fucking definitely... Well, I don't know about... I'm not sure how vital necessarily, but it is absolutely... It would 1,000% increase America's ability to secure itself from foreign adversaries, both geopolitically and in terms of resources. Right? So... it included Greenland among several European possessions in the Western Hemisphere to preemptively seize and fortify in the event of a threatened attack in the U.S. during World War II. So during World War II, if there was an attack on the U.S., we would preemptively seize Greenland for its geopolitical location. If we were to seize Greenland, and if we were actually able to sail across the Northern Ocean, we could get into Russia so fast. Like, just fucking, we could go right into Russia, we could go right into Europe, we could go... I don't know if you've ever looked at a map of the globe from, like, looking down on the on the North Pole, but everything is pretty fucking close together if you go over the top. That's all I'm saying. So the U.S. invoked the Monroe Doctrine and the occupied Greenland to prevent use by Germany following the German occupation of Denmark. So as soon as Denmark got fucking overrun, America went, all right, Greenland belongs to us now. We're gonna just go ahead and do that. The U.S. military remained in Greenland after the war. We have a base there right now. In fact, the U.S. Air Force has a base in Greenland. Remained in Greenland, and by 1948, Denmark abandoned attempts to persuade the U.S. to leave. Listen, we're already here. You're not making us leave, and you can try, but it's not going to work. In 1951, treaty gave the U.S. a significant role in Greenland's defense. What? Hold on. And about 1953, construction began on the Thun military base, known now as Pitufik. Space base. Hell yeah. Located in northwest Greenland, the U.S. military frequently takes part in NATO exercises in Greenlandic waters. Yeah, that's because... So what you're telling me is the U.S. already defends it militarily, but we can't own it? Fuck you. Greenland's going to belong to us so fast. It wouldn't even be hard. We could just walk in and take it and no one would stop us. Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. Yeah, you kiss my ass. Whatever. Under Danish law, Greenlandic independence is possible at any time based on the Self-Governing Act of 2009. So at any time, Greenland could vote to basically not be part of Denmark anymore. Cool. Awesome. Fuck yeah. So here's the thing, man. I think that Greenland could be part of the U.S. I think that it's not necessarily... unheard of for this to happen, and again, much like Mexico, which we already covered, there's already a lot of things that keep it tied to the U.S. And in Greenland, unlike Mexico, in Greenland we already are responsible, I guess, for its national defense, which is bonkers because if Denmark is going to keep claiming fucking territory over it, the least they could do is defend it them damn selves. That's all I'm saying. If we're going to use our military to defend it, we might as well just own the goddamn thing. And honestly, I think if we went to take it from Denmark, there's nothing they could do. Well, not that there's nothing they could do, but there's nothing that they would do. All right. Let's see. Okay. So this is a video from Insider News. This is, could Greenland become the 51st U.S. state? Again, like we talked about, it wouldn't necessarily be too difficult. We just have to pull the trigger on it, if I'm being honest. Like, it's already nearly there.
President Donald Trump.
If we're going to defend you militarily, there's no reason that you shouldn't be part of the United States.
Has been saying for months now that he wants to...
And if Denmark insists on keeping it, they should be responsible for it.
Purchase Greenland. Is this realistic? Is that something that he can do? Here's what you need to know. Can Donald Trump actually buy Greenland?
He could. There's three ways to acquire new territory. You could annex it legally, you could purchase it, which is also legal, and then you could militarily take it over, which is what many countries most often try and do.
Well, not really. There's no clear legal path to do that in
Yes, there is.
Today's world. The people of Greenland have too many rights over their own self-determination.
And they would have much more the moment they vote to become a member of the United States of America.
The days have long passed since you could outright purchase a huge chunk of territory from a European power in the New World. What the United States did with Alaska, purchasing it from...
Denmark doesn't deserve a fucking dollar for this. Not one. What have they done to deserve a dollar? What exactly have they done to claim right over this territory? By right, it is America's. Manifest destiny.
From Russia in the middle of the 19th century is just not in line with today's international legal norms and standards. So what would be in this for the United States? Well, it's not so far from the U.S., and it's strategically located...
Okay, hang on. I'm going to show you that again.
Strategically located in the Arctic. It's not so far...
This is what I'm talking about. So, if America was to own Greenland, it is stationed nearly perfectly because there's look a lot of it up here is ice, so you wouldn't be able to actually like do anything in terms of like sailing through that because you would just be fucking trying to sail through ice. But this way, you might be able to actually make it, and you could go directly into it looks like Sweden. You could probably go into Finland. You could go into Norway. Russia is over here. I mean, you could go directly into Greenland. You could go like this is a pretty big area. I mean, this is almost integral for the defense of the Western Hemisphere here. I mean, yeah, no, there's no reason it should belong to anyone other than the United States. Like, just look, this down here. This is Denmark down here. Fuck you.
From the U.S., and it's strategically located in the Arctic. Arctic ice has been melting. Russia has become more active in that region. China, though it's not an Arctic nation, has also become more active in the Arctic. So the United States...
Just another reason that Greenland needs to become a member of the United States of America, okay? I don't imagine too many people will live there. There'll be probably a small population, maybe even larger once it becomes a state. But, I listen, I'm just saying. Like, everyone's life would get much better. Everyone in Greenland would make so much more money.
Has military and strategic interest in having a greater presence in that part of
the great thing about being a U.S. state is that you also are responsible for your own self-governance. I'm just saying, you would still be able to keep all that crap. If you have a flag, you could keep it. If you have like customs and shit, you could keep that too. That's fine. And only under America would you be allowed to do that. That's all I'm saying.
the Arctic. There's already an important American air base in the north of the island. And in the south of the island, there are deposits of rare earth minerals. So as the world seems to be deglobalizing to an extent and strategic economic blocks are forming, a source of rare earth minerals that is not in China, that's near the United States, is potentially very valuable. Those at least are the most obvious geostrategic rationales for seeking this kind of arrangement with...
I'm not a fool. This will end up being kinetic war. I don't know if it will be with just like the US and China, or if it's going to be the BRICS nations versus like NATO. I'm not really sure. Honestly, I don't think... India is currently aligned with China and Russia and North Korea and like Brazil and stuff, but I don't think India will actually like maintain its partnership with them whenever shit like gets real. Whenever bullets start flying, I think they'll actually come back over to the United States because they would benefit more. But yeah, no, if this has as many natural resources as I fucking know that it does, this would be it's fucking integral. Are you kidding me right now? This could mean the difference between America actually winning that war.
Greenland?
I mean, like, we're going to. I have full confidence that America would do it by itself, but, you know, I'm just saying, like, it would make things much easier, and we wouldn't actually... If we had a source, of natural resources like Greenland, we could do it, and the American population wouldn't even notice.
It's not entirely clear why President Trump personally has become so focused on it. So...
What do you mean it's not entirely clear? It's fucking obvious.
Well,
what?
The United States is an economic and military power next door.
Yes, it is.
The U.S. is already guaranteeing Greenland's security.
Look, if we're guaranteeing your security already, just become a member of the U.S. And here's the thing. If you don't, we shouldn't be guaranteeing your security anymore.
Closer military relationship would cement that guarantee, and trade relationship.
I'm fine with just going in and taking it over and saying, and like flipping the bird to Denmark. Like, just flat out. It's fucking ours now. Deal with it. Come take it back.
With the largest, most dynamic economy in the world. Another benefit of some sort of deal would be the right for people from Greenland to live or work in the U.S. But it's not clear that this is something that people of Greenland are especially interested in at the moment. I was there in December, and there was limited interest in pursuing...
I don't think the people of Greenland understand the quality of life benefits that they would achieve.
Union with the United States. There was more interest in pursuing greater economic cooperation with the U.S. There was also a fair amount of wariness among both government officials and regular people on the streets and in the bars in Nuuk, the capital city. In a recent survey, a majority of Greenlanders said they would like to have closer relations with the U.S., but even more Greenlanders said that they'd like to have closer relations with all sorts of other countries, including Iceland and Canada. that doesn't mean that there's nothing Donald Trump can do.
So what you're telling me is the people of Greenland already recognize that there's no reason they should be a part of Denmark. They're just not really completely sold on becoming part of another country. They probably just want to keep it and do it to themselves. The great thing about the way that America is set up is that you could just become your own state and govern yourselves and stuff like that, and you could probably still trade with other countries. Now, you'd have to go through the United States to do it, but there's no reason we wouldn't have a major, like, trading hub and a major port there in Greenland. There's no reason we couldn't have that. That's all. You would be able to govern yourself as a state. You would just also be subject to U.S. federal laws, which isn't a bad thing.
Regarding Greenland. So what could Trump actually do? One of the more plausible ideas is what's called a compact of free association. This is an arrangement that the U.S. has with a small number of island nations in the Pacific. It's short of actually forming a union with Greenland or making it a 51st state, as some people like to talk about the idea.
Yeah, let's
but
do
it does
Fuck
include some special privileges for both
America.
the U.S. and the other nations
Yeah.
involved. For something like a free association agreement to work, there are a lot of other steps that would have to occur. For the time being, Greenland is an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. Their foreign policy is determined by Denmark.
Denmark
there would have to be a
sucks.
referendum in Greenland
Boo.
supporting
Boo.
independence. There's not even total agreement about exactly how that process will work. It's being studied by Greenland's government at the moment. Then, having achieved full independence, Greenland would then have to choose to enter into a free association agreement or some other kind of special arrangement with the United States. That being said, Donald Trump clearly
Some other kind of special arrangement, like becoming a state.
has the attention of the governments of Greenland and Denmark.
Subscribe if you are for American expansion. Let's do it.
Greenland's Prime Minister, Mute Egede, has come forward in the last month and said that he's ready for talks with President Trump. And Denmark's Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, has reportedly been quite rattled by Trump's determination to get his hands on Greenland.
It's because she's lame and gay.
She's been going around Europe shoring up support among allies for Denmark's claim to Greenland. So, if President Trump is relying on a popular groundswell in Greenland to get this deal across the finish line, he's still got some convincing to do.
I don't know about that much convincing. I'm just saying, like, listen, if Greenland has as many natural resources as we all think it does, and look, all right, I'll just get right into this. Let's talk about the independence of Greenland, okay? Let's talk about what the Greenlanders actually want for themselves, okay? Let's not talk about what America could do for them. Let's talk about what they want to do, okay? So Greenland's background comes from Norse and Inuit colonization. You know what that means? That means white colonization, all right? That's what the Norse were. Okay, woo! We have a culture. Hell yeah! All right, Greenland's present population are predominantly Inuit. Okay, that's the people wearing the like fur jackets with like the head coverings with like fur everywhere, and they live in like igloos and shit like that. Right? That's those people. Okay. Scholars believe that the earliest known Norse settlements in Greenland originated from Iceland. Oh, okay, so they came from Iceland. They went over to Greenland. The Norse settlements, yada yada yada. Right? Cool. And that Eric the Red founded the early colony in 985. The Kingdom of Norway later claimed and controlled Greenland singularly from roughly 1261 to 1319. Okay, so it did belong to Norway. European contact with Greenland was not reestablished until 1721 with the mission of Hans Egede, which was followed by the Moravian missions. These established yada yada. Okay, so by the time Norway and Denmark had been unified under the Denmark-Norway, which considered Greenland part of its territory, this ended on 14 January 1814 after Norway was ceded from Denmark as a result of the Napoleonic Wars in Europe. Okay, all right, fair enough. So, all right, okay. As a result of the Treaty of Kiel, Denmark resumed full sovereignty over Greenland soon after. From 1814 to 1953, Greenland was a territory not independent and not part of Denmark, but directly controlled by the Danish government. Why? Hold on. You're saying that it wasn't even a territory Greenland was was a territory not independent and not part of Denmark. So it was not an independent territory, but also not part of Denmark, but directly controlled by the Danish government. What the fuck is going on? 1953, a new Danish constitution incorporated Greenland into Denmark. The island thereby gained representation in the Danish parliament and was recognized by the Danish province under the country of Greenland. Okay, all right. So let's talk about their. Greenland's former prime minister was repeatedly expressed the need to diversify Greenland's economy, which mainly relies on fishery, tourism, and substantial annual block grant from the Danish state. Okay, in 2008, independence campaigners touted the year 2021 as a possible date for independence. In 2023, a commission tasked with the drafting of the Constitution of the independent Greenland presented its proposal. On February 24, the island officially declared its independence as a goal for Greenland. All right, cool. So it's officially, as of February in 2024, it officially declared that independence is the goal for Greenland. U.S. President Donald Trump's interest in Greenland has strengthened the cause of Greenland's independence from Denmark. Hell yeah, it has. Woohoo! At a press conference in early 2025, pro-independence Prime Minister, that's a name, said that work has already begun on creating a framework for Greenland as an independent state. Ooh, not an independent country or an independent nation. An independent state. Ooh, is this foreshadowing? Is this foreshadowing? And apparently hinted that the independence referendum could take place as soon as April 2025. I don't think that actually happened, but that's okay. So in terms of polling, well, it actually looks like it's gone up a little bit. A poll in 2016 showed that there was a clear majority, 64%, for full independence. In 2017, it jumped from 64 to 78%. Okay, well, actually, no. In 2017, a poll showed that 78% of the population would oppose independence if it implied a lower standard of living, which it wouldn't if you were... Well, yeah, no, I mean, obviously people would fucking... If it implied a lower standard of living, they wouldn't want to. But if you become independent and become part of the United States, it would be, be a better quality of life, right? In 2019, a poll showed that 67% of Greenlanders support independence from Greenland sometime in the next 2 decades. In the next 20 years, more than half of these are major majorities, dude. So the majority of them, so far we've learned that the majority of them want to become independent. They do it because they don't think it would cause them a lower standard of living, and they want to see it happen in the next 20 years. Okay, cool. So now the most recent poll in 2025 showed that 84% of Greenlanders would support independence from Denmark. However, 45% of the population would oppose the independence if it meant a lower standard of living. Okay, so at this point, oh, dude. At this point, they want independence whether it means a lower standard or not. Because more than half of them would support it. This says only 45% oppose it if it means a lower standard of living. That means 55% would support it even if it meant a lower standard of living. Wow. Dude, Denmark is fucking up. You should become a member of the United States of America. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like it would immediately increase their quality of life. Okay, so I've been talking a lot of shit about how Greenland has a lot of resources. Let's discuss those resources real quick, because this is amazing. Okay, so key details for Greenland's mineral wealth. Okay, the vast island coveted by the U.S. President Donald Trump is believed to hold untapped mineral resources, but on a global scale, these amounts are modest and offer only minor potential and exploitation. Yeah, sure, but it acts as a massive resource bank for the United States of America. Okay, so let's take this for example. Greenland's rare earth estimated 36.1 billion tons, but recovered reserves are about 1.5. That means there's a lot of fucking resources there that have previously gone untapped. Okay, something that I want to cover, the hydrocarbons right here. So Greenland's potentially contains 28.4 billion barrels of oil equivalent. For comparison, the U.S. consumed 7.3 billion barrels of petrol in 2023. That means if the U.S. was actually to go to war with any other nation, Greenland alone has untapped oil reserves enough that it would supply the entire U.S. population as is for 4 fucking years. Okay? If you look, that's why I said earlier, man, if the U.S. was to go to war with the planet, the U.S. would win, okay? If the U.S. was to go to the war with the planet and they own Greenland, the U.S., like, general, like, civilian population wouldn't even know that we went to war, okay? They would continue about their lives like nothing fucking happened. Oh, man, and just in terms of, like, the strategic advantage of it, too, man, so this map shows, like, various, like, deposits and like mines and stuff like that. There is oh man, there was a gold mine that I saw a minute ago. Where's that at? Nalanunak, whatever that is. Dude, yeah, this is so down here. There's a gold mine. There's also graphite down here. Fuck yeah, dude, they can make graphene. Hell yeah, definitely invest in graphene. I'm just saying. So yeah, that's Greenland's mineral resources, dude. There's so much there. They've got lithium, which is important for batteries and shit. They've got titanium, which is also important. There's other rare earth minerals that are there, like gold and calcium-rich other things here. Uranium, it looks like they have there. I mean, dude, this could be a fucking game changer, man. Like, if the U.S. owned it, look, over here, it looks like this is where the U.S. space base is. And so if we're guaranteeing the security of this entire fucking place, there's no reason we shouldn't own the entire place. Like, I'm just saying that there's no reason that it should belong to anyone other than the United States if we are the ones that are actually protecting it, right? Okay, so let's talk about one other thing. Where is it at? Okay, so right here. This is another YouTube video. This is Binkov's Battlegrounds. That's this YouTube channel. Definitely go to him. Definitely subscribe. You can see it right now. I'm showing you. What would having Greenland mean for the United States? Okay, definitely subscribe to this guy. This is what I want to watch. Again, have not seen this before. Don't watch these things beforehand because I want my reactions to be genuine, just like they have been. But I want you to just look at this map real quick because I need you to see this. Okay, down here is America. Okay, up here is Canada. We got Alaska right here. Over right here is Greenland. Okay. This is Greenland. If America controlled Greenland, it would have immediate access to basically all of Eastern Europe. Like it would have immediate access through the north, all of Eastern Europe, and it would have no reason to cross the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans to do so. It could go over and directly into this other place. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. If you look at a photo of the globe from like looking down at it, you really notice how close everything is if you just go up and over. Now, most people don't because all this white here is just like ice and shit, and that's why you can't sail through that. But you could sail from here to Iceland, or maybe even from like here directly over to Norway and like Finland and Sweden and stuff like that, right? So I'm just saying. All right. Yeah, if it was to become a U.S. state, it would mean leaps and bounds for not only the American and Greenland economy, but also for like military, like strategic positions in defense.
This video won't dwell on whether the new US administration will actually force Denmark to give control of Greenland to the US, nor how Greenland might be taken if it ever does change hands. This video will simply explain what Greenland under US rule might give to the US, primarily in the military sense. The video will cover potential new facilities, reach of air bases, and potential future strategic uses. How might Russian, Chinese, and European interests be threatened?
All right, look, he's gonna discuss exactly what I've been talking about. Yeah, it means so much, dude.
If Greenland is ever exploited further militarily.
Whenever we acquired Alaska, we covered that strategic position on the let's call it the west side, right? Now we need to acquire Greenland to cover our northeastern corner as well. Okay, Binkov's battleground. Okay.
U.S. President Trump recently said, quote, "The U.S. needs Greenland because it is so strategically located."
Yeah,
quote.
That's what I've been talking about.
So let's fast forward into a near future where the U.S. does control said strategic location. Why is it even strategic? Greenland is a huge chunk of landmass. It's the world's biggest island, with Australia being a continent. Yet some 80% of Greenland is covered in thick ice all year long.
Yes.
A digression. Did you know that if all ice would melt on Greenland, a massive lake would form in the middle of it? Despite the harsh environment...
So what you're telling me is we need to stop worrying about climate change and let all of this melt so that we could get that massive lake and life could then resume on Greenland. Okay. All right. Maybe joining America is not so bad, right?
People have lived there for thousands of years. Greenland was used militarily during World War II. After Denmark fell to Germany, Greenland, which was a Danish colony, lost its overseer and acted independently. So the US swooped in and built many outposts all around, ports to refuel ships, airfields to refuel planes, various radio and weather stations, and so on. A digression, during the war, Germans established a few weather stations on Greenland. At one point, Germans burned down a Danish patrol outpost after the patrol discovered them. Later on, US bombers destroyed the German weather station. Anyway, by the time the Cold War started, most of the Allied outposts fell out of use. The US relied on more or less just one large base, the Thule Air Base up north.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's such inhospitable territory that people aren't going to just fucking walk across it or anything like that. We're fine with just having the one base up here because the radar systems will tell us if anything's going on anyway.
North, today's Bidufik base. It's interesting that despite the fact a war would have seen more action near Greenland, the US remained at that one base throughout the Cold War. Its crucial feature was operation of an early warning radar to track possible Soviet ICBMs. Then again, stopover to refuel bombers and weather stations were not as crucial anymore due to advances in technology.
Okay.
There were other more experimental bases too, like the Camp Century base built into the ice. That was to research the possibility of making a network of mobile nuclear missile launchers operating under the ice sheet on Greenland. But after some years the idea was dropped as the ice sheet construction proved to be too dangerous. Back in the Cold War, the balance of power and doctrine was different. NATO feared that it would be on the defensive in Europe against the Warsaw Pact. So most of US air power was planned to be used over Europe. And doctrinally it was thought that the war wouldn't have lasted long, that it would likely escalate to nuclear use fairly quickly. Delivery of nuclear warheads requires far fewer planes. Earlier in the Cold War, bombers were to be just refueled on Greenland, if not in air, so one base sufficed. And later on, with silver bullet weapons, meaning expensive, very long-ranged cruise missiles, even
weapons that Greenland does not have access to, by the way, without the U.S. government, meaning if they were to join us, they would immediately get access to all of the best shit on the planet. That's all I'm saying. It would be good for them.
Deep penetration.
As good as it would be for America, it would be just as good for the Greenland population. That's all I'm saying.
Into the Soviet Union was not necessary. Today, the situation is different.
Yeah,
There's another Cold War. But Russia is a secondary worry for the US, far behind China. Having greater access to Greenland doesn't mean that much to the US when it comes to fighting China conventionally.
We're pretty close.
The US has far better places to fight China from. Of course, as this new Cold War progresses, it's quite plausible cooperation between China and Russia might become such that, for example, Chinese submarines might regularly operate in the Arctic Ocean. And to help hunt submarines,
I mean, let's be honest, they probably are. But also, a lot of that territory that we're crossing over in terms of, like, crossing over Russian territory in that right here. So a lot of this territory is Siberia, which is equally as inhospitable as fucking northern Alaska is, right? People don't fucking live here. They live over in the western side of it, closer to Europe, because this is just fucking awful. It's all snow and ice and forest and shit.
might regularly operate in
like there's no way it would be able to mount a ground assault through there. Never.
The Arctic Ocean. And to help hunt submarines, air power is often used. Anti-submarine planes like P-8 Poseidon are used in such instances. But now we're talking about around-the-clock air operations day in, day out, covering a large ocean. It's plausible a single base on Greenland would not suffice. And in an alliance, it's not implausible that Chinese air forces would also be stationed in Russia to help protect their submarines, for example.
Cool. When we
Chinese
get rid of
force
Russian
projection
bases, we'll
towards US bases
too.
on Greenland would also be possible. And before you know it, a whole layer of defensive and offensive assets might be needed for the US on Greenland to make the whole system work. Suddenly, from a single US base, there might come a need for several or even a dozen US bases. But Chinese submarines might be a secondary concern. China's big ICBM fields are located in such positions within China that it's very likely a nuclear exchange between China and US would have China fire ICBMs towards the eastern US coast, using routes that would go straight over Greenland. We are talking here about approximately 2/3.
Okay, so if we own Greenland, it also protects us against ICBM missiles, because that seems to be the most direct route. They would pass over Greenland. So if we have anti-missile technology there, then it would be shot down presumably over northern Greenland, where people don't live. Got it. Cool. Fuck yeah.
Chinese ICBM arsenal being located.
Greenland is just a wall, man. We need it. We have Alaska here. We need to have Greenland over here. We need to shore up our northern corners.
In such a way that if Washington, New York, and rest of US East Coast is to be targeted, those missiles will go over or near Greenland. That's in contrast with Soviet and Russian routes, which would be much more varied, as Russian launch locations are much more spread out and closer to the US.
Okay.
There's a single early warning ballistic missile radar in Greenland now, its location stemming from the Cold War era, but it's likely the US might want more for redundancy and protection against Chinese attacks on radars.
They'll probably
also,
get
any
more.
future ballistic interceptors might be well served by being
But also, Greenland wants to join us just to protect themselves against these other like hostile countries, right? Like
stationed on Greenland.
Well, look at all of the overlapping freaking missile, like anti-missile detection like coverage here is. That's crazy.
If there's any realistic chance of them catching Chinese missiles in time. ICBM interception is all about being forward enough. Boost phase interception would be best, but that's impossible with ICBM launchers done from deep inside China. So mid-course stage interception is second best, and Greenland interceptors might allow for interceptions at roughly the half point of Chinese missiles' trajectory, which might be enough to intercept them before the current generation of Chinese missiles reach their apogee and deploy their multiple warheads. Intercepting individual warheads after set point would be much harder. In a way, if you're gonna remember just one thing from this entire video,
yeah, take it out before it separates, because we can cut it off at its halfway point instead of right before it's about to hit. Yeah.
It's the threat of China's ICBMs and US defenses against those. That's why Greenland matters most. But that's just with regards to China. Russia, despite being a lesser threat to the US, would still be an additional adversary on top of China. However unlikely it may seem now, it's possible that the future might see Russia and US in a limited shooting war over Ukraine, for example. Perhaps just so limited that it doesn't involve nukes, but that it's still
Nah, I mean, again, this video was made like 8 months ago, so like, obviously things have changed. But I don't think Russia would be able to last against America for a fucking month, man. Like, if America wanted to steamroll Russia, they fucking could. Now, America would take casualties, sure, but not nearly as many as Russia would. And then at that point, China's just like, well, they'll probably immediately get super aggressive because they realize how fucked they are if we take over Russia like that. But, yeah, no, we need to shore up Greenland just mainly for our national defense more than anything else.
Includes U.S.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of resources there, but I wouldn't consider them to be mineable necessarily. Not that we couldn't mine them, but I would say use it as more of a strategic resource bank, right, where we just store it there in case we need it. So when we ever do go into a massive kinetic war, we can have a whole lot of mines there as well as the additional military bases for various things, like not only for protection of the mines that we will have there, but also for the intercontinental ballistic missile detection systems, as well as air bases and even probably naval bases at that point toward the south.
Strikes on Russian infrastructure inside Russia. And Russia is huge. Going through Europe will not really reach many targets within Russia. At least not without having to go over lots of thickly defended airspace. But using routes over the Arctic Ocean...
This is what I'm talking about. They can go directly into Russia. Like, it's bad.
...via Greenland, many additional important targets could be threatened as well. Like targets in central Russia, and even targets around Moscow by using additional different approach vectors, like from the east. Even stealthy cruise missiles might have their survival rates greatly compromised if they need to first cross 2,000 miles of Russian territory, like if going via Europe. Majority of Russian oil fields are located south or southeast of the Yamal Peninsula. Majority of oil refineries are located east or southeast of Moscow. A good deal of all those could be additionally threatened via Greenland. Here's just one operational example to one possible...
We could blanket all of that in one night.
...target, Omsk oil refinery. 2 rough routes for missiles are shown.
Nah, way too close to China. Although, if China and Russia were to ever get into a kinetic conflict, China would probably end up immediately trying to take all of those refineries.
...shown from, let's say, optimistically close launch points using aircraft. Of course, missiles wouldn't fly straight, but that's beside the point. Firstly, 800 kilometers of reach difference is not irrelevant.
Oh, that is not nearly as far as I thought it would be. Oh, damn. Oh, dude, America could... Oh, no. Oh, if we had Greenland, it would be over for Russia. Oh, man.
But much more importantly, Western Russia is much more protected and covered with air defense systems.
Yeah,
the map tries
and that's because that's where the majority of the population is. Like I said, over here on the eastern side, people don't generally live over there because of how inhospitable the climate is. It's so damn cold just all the time. There's ice everywhere all the fucking time. Over here, that's where the people drink vodka all the time. That's just because they need to stay warm, okay? So like St. Petersburg and Moscow and all that, that's over here on the eastern side where things are a little bit more... a little bit warmer, right? There's more than one season, right?
To show that, but keep in mind this is just a rough approximation of threat levels. But the point is that a lot of missiles, if launched via Greenland route, might encounter many times fewer defenses. Such a situation might be applicable to many targets inside central Russia. And it's not like the US could not use bases on Iceland or in Scotland or Norway to go north of the Scandinavian peninsula and do similar attacks. It could, and if there's war, it might. But Greenland might offer additional complications for Russia, adding new additional variables. Of course, it's not just oil and gas facilities that might be valid targets. Here's a map that shows some of the biggest arms production plants in Russia. A great deal of those is again located behind that initial wall of air defenses when looked from Western Europe, like factories in Yelabuga for SHEILD-like drones, tanks in Nizhny Tagil, artillery in Yekaterinburg, specialized vehicles like launcher vehicles in Volgograd, ballistic missiles in Votkinsk, SAM missiles in Kirov, combat planes in Irkutsk and Komsomolsk on Amur, and so on. Anyway, more bases on Greenland would mean a lot more work.
Yeah, like that's what I said. Everybody lives in like the eastern side of Russia, and everything on that west side, if there's an important stop over there, then we can get there from Alaska. We really just need to shore up our upper right corner, you know what I mean?
As harsh polar conditions are not something to be scoffed at. That being said, F-35s are regularly operating in such conditions, both in Alaska and sometimes on rotation at that one Greenland base. So
Oh yeah, we haven't done it yet, but we're definitely prepared to if Trump was to ever actually pull the trigger on it, which he really should.
Temperatures of -40 or more Fahrenheit are not gonna prevent modern combat jets from working. Cold weather can actually...
The next time there is a massive kinetic war that America is actually involved in, we're taking Greenland. Like, it's going to happen, and it will happen fast.
Bring some benefits due to denser air, like shortening runway.
Trump will walk in, he'll kick in the Danish president's or Danish prime minister's door, he'll slap his dick on the table, and he'll say that Greenland belongs to us. And whoever's in charge of Denmark will say, oh, okay, sure, there's nothing we can really fucking do about it. And then Trump will walk the fuck out, okay? Hell yeah.
Distance and increasing lift, but overall, of course, polar conditions do require more effort. Constant de-icing both on planes and runways, special engine starting procedures to gradually heat up fuel, oil and lubricants and so on. It's a hassle. Having humans out in such low temperatures is not easy, especially if many bases with a lot of personnel are gonna be involved. But there are places on Greenland which are better suited for bases temperature-wise. Bidefik base is actually not in a hospitable part of Greenland, temperature-wise.
Oh, really?
Showing that location rather than working conditions.
Okay, let's see what the temperatures here in Greenland. What do we got? All right, so in the winter months, it's terrible. Okay, these are degrees Celsius, so just kind of keep that in mind. 0 degrees Celsius is freezing. So just, you know. So February, March, and April is when it is regular, I guess, that... Okay. So it gets fucking about freezing, and that's about it. Okay, so it's not the best of places to live, but again, we use it as a natural resource bank and nothing else, right? I'm fine with that.
Was key when operational limitations and requirements.
Its geopolitical position is good enough that we can justify giving it to the United States, particularly if we're already responsible for its security. My God.
Were considered. That being said, there are other places as well. They would all have to be near the coast for logistical purposes, so bases could easily be resupplied by ships. The middle of Greenland is covered in ice, so that's not really an option anyway. But the eastern...
Well, easily supplied by ships, but if it becomes a member of the United States, then, you know, it would get our logistical gurus in there, and we'd start sending planes too.
Coast has a somewhat milder climate, and its northern parts are still located close enough to Russia to matter to the US.
Relocate a couple factories there and maybe make it a bit warmer, that's what I'm saying.
The bases around said location could see bearable temperatures of 5 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 15 Celsius for 7 months of the year, with the June to August period actually seeing temperatures above freezing point. That's basically summer holidays in Greenland terms.
Wow.
Or further up north at the
Maybe start a garden, maybe.
Northeastern edge of Greenland. Conditions wouldn't be much different from those at Bidefik base. Yet said bases would be as close to Russia and Chinese ICBM route as possible. Of course, proximity can cut both ways. Such forward positioning means you are farther away from help coming from the mainland US, which may have been why such locations weren't pursued in the first Cold War. But now, with Russia being weaker, it's possible even such forward locations might be looked into. Of course, building more bases and facilities close to Bidefik base is also a good option.
Look, America is no stranger to having a base that is on the other side of the planet. Okay, we took a B-2 stealth bomber and we flew it 13 hours across the planet, refueling it several times midair, and no one ever knew about it, all right? We'll be fine, I promise.
Now, military presence would have to increase not just to threaten Russian infrastructure, but also the economy. As the Arctic Ocean is more and more passable during the year, with the ice caps melting, Russia and even China are counting more and more on using said Arctic route to ship various goods, as it offers a shorter and cheaper route than...
But if we have Greenland, then we can bottleneck it right there.
...going south around India. EU's position in a new Cold War or a shooting war is unknown and dependent on many variables, but
like
US
what?
forward bases on Greenland, overseeing China's Arctic trade routes to the EU, might be additional leverage for the US. Even today, some Russian undocumented ships are using the Arctic route to ship oil westward. And bigger military presence might also come in handy to help defend various future mining operations. Greenland has so far been mostly untapped, even though it likely hides abundant deposits of various ores, including graphite, titanium, zinc, tungsten, uranium.
See, I covered this already. Yeah, we would use it essentially as like just kind of a defensive wall in the northeastern corner of our like hemisphere. But it would also be like a natural resource just bank for the U.S.
And various rare earths.
Because it would do us no good to just deplete what it is right now. I mean, we would just save it.
Bigger and domestic rare earths access might be precisely what the U.S. needs in a prolonged Cold War with China.
Dude, I definitely subscribe to me, man. I have the correct opinions all the time. These people agree with... I swear to God, I don't watch these prior. These people always agree with me because I'm just right, okay? The cool thing about the correct opinion is that everybody has, or not everybody, but all the ones that are right have the same opinion.
China. As such, ores are important in electronics. China has banned export of some ores to the US, and having Greenland might give an extra layer of safety for the future for the US. No one really knows how much ore of which kind might be on Greenland, so protecting access to all that potential for years and centuries to come would be important. As Greenland has largely been autonomous under Danish rule, exploitation of ores has been curtailed due to natives not really allowing it in significant quantities. If Greenland remained autonomous, any new US military base would need Greenland's approval as well. But US owning Greenland might go around that problem and allow greater US exploitation of the island. But we are really outside the military.
Why do you gotta label it as US exploitation, okay? Like, listen, first of all, American expansionism and American imperialism is so super fucking based, and you should subscribe if you believe so. But also, it's not exploiting them, okay? Their quality of life will increase substantially in a very short amount of time. If you live in Greenland, you will become very rich the moment that you become a U.S. state, okay? All of the natural resources there, anything that America pulls out of the ground, they would, by law, have to give a percentage back to Greenland. Greenland would make money on all that shit, too. And if that's the case, then all the people in Greenland would make a lot of money.
Military scope of this.
It would probably be distributed as some sort of monthly or maybe yearly deposit to all of the citizens that live in Greenland. I'm just saying, or at least the people that lived there prior to it becoming a U.S. state. That's likely how it would go.
This video now. Greenland is a big place. It's well positioned, and its importance is only gonna grow. It would be easy to exploit it more militarily. And as we showed, reasons for military presence are varied and plentiful. Most of all, they might be about partial protection attempts from Chinese nuclear weapons.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's Greenland. It also should become a member of the United States. Mostly though for unlike some other places, for Greenland mostly, it's due to the fact that it's a super good strategic defense position in terms of it being like in terms of its position on the globe, and also in terms of the natural resources that are currently just untapped there. We already covered like it has 4 years worth of crude oil and like untapped like resource reserve for energy and stuff. So if America was to go to war with the planet, America would win, right? Because it's just fucking awesome that way. However, it would require a lot of the civilian workforce in America to shift their, let's call it their perspective from making clothes to now like making tanks, right? Like all of the auto manufacturing plants that happen to be in the United States would probably shift to now making military vehicles, right? Like we would weaponize the civilian workforce as well. However, if America controls Greenland, then it wouldn't have to do that. America would take on the world, win, and its citizenry wouldn't even know that we were in a fucking war. All right? So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Greenland will become a state, but it will be a state more for its strategic defense value than anything else, really. Like, so if you currently live there, you'll probably get paid to live there because the U.S. will pull resources off of it, and if you live there, you would be entitled to a percentage of those resources, so their quality of life would significantly increase while Americans' quality of life would also significantly increase because now we don't have to charge so much for, let's say, gasoline, right? We don't have to charge so much for your iPhone because we don't have to worry about like tariffs or something for the rare earth minerals that went into making the batteries, right? So, but also it would be just incredible for dude, I cannot stress the importance of this from a strategic defense point of view. I've said this again, and I'm going to say this again. All the world is a game of Risk, and America needs to win. And every single time that I play Risk, I choose America. And the first thing that I do is take over Greenland. And then I take over Alaska, and I take over Central America. Why? Because those are the three corners, okay? That's where from there I go from Greenland all the way down to Iceland because I can't go up over it like we would be able to in like the globe. And then I go from Alaska over into Russia, and I take Central America down into Venezuela. Okay, so here's the thing: you push to the borders, and then you got to go through the door and have a guard in front of the door, right? So in this case, it would be Greenland over to Iceland. You guys get what I'm saying, all right? And that's the way that America needs to approach its foreign policy, right? It's the way it needs to approach its national defense. Greenland is 1,000% on the Western Hemisphere. It is 1,000% part of the North American continent, and it should belong to America. There's no, especially if we are already guaranteeing its security via the U.S. military. Like, if the American taxpayers are guaranteeing the security of a place that is not theirs, that's kind of fucked up. Definitely subscribe to me on Rumble, unless you are tired of Rumble, and then subscribe to me on YouTube. Unless you're tired of that, and then go over to Rumble. I'm everywhere, okay? Follow me on X because I make based opinions, and I am a cool person to hang out with and talk to. So I will see you guys next week. Bye!